You.
Well, lots of us have made losing weight our New Year's resolution, and our next guest has some advice to help you do just that. The author of the new book, The Right Way, Rena Greenberg. Also one of her success stories, Carol Henderson, both joining us today. And good morning to you, ladies. I'm so glad that you made it here. Obviously, the top of our minds as we start the new year. I want us to take a second to show a picture, Carol, of you before you worked with Rena. And then we'll take a look at you after here, sitting on set. And then I'm going to ask Rena, what's the secret? What happened?
What happens is when we change the way we think about food, our behavior naturally changes. So the program that I use, the method, I've written all about it in The Right Way. It's how do we do that? How do we break the old mental programming of the past that causes the overeating, the binging, the snacking, the emotional eating, and instead really start to be able to step into a new image of ourselves, healthy, slender, fit, really loving and caring for ourselves.
And it sounds so easy. Carol, you did it. How much weight did you lose?
I've lost 55 pounds.
Okay, great. And so what is the secret? Because they say there's no magic pill, but what worked for you with Rena's method?
It made me see that I don't need the food. It's all in your mind, like she has said. I've been able to cut back on what I've eaten and eat better.
Okay, again, they sound like basic principles, but it's all intertwined. You know, you can take a diet and you name a million of them, and they tell you what to eat and how to eat, but you're saying it's coming from inside, it's coming from in here. Does that mean it's something long-term? You're not going to approach this with 3 months or 2 months or 1 month and then I'm done and then it's back to normal, right?
Exactly. When you're on a diet, you feel deprived or denied. The minute you go on a diet, you are waiting to go off that diet.
Yep.
What we need to do is break the old mental programming so that we change on a permanent basis, and that endless cycle of painful dieting is behind us forever.
Okay, now we do have a couple of graphic representations of your tips. If you're planning to do this at home, know your vision, which means what?
It means know where you're going. Know what you're stepping into. Know that it's possible to live your life at your ideal weight, looking and feeling your best, and really use the method to reprogram the subconscious so you believe it.
Okay, our next point is, let's take a look at that. Turn to the source, or your source, for help. And this source would be the Right Way book, and you also do seminars, correct?
Beyond you, of course, the book and the seminars, but beyond that, I mean the personal source inside, our highest potential, our greatest source of strength and power. For many of us, it's a spiritual source. It's beyond the conscious mind. If we could have done this with just using the conscious mind alone, we would have.
Okay, so acknowledge that you're going to need sort of a greater power
inside.
And then in the meantime, you say accept yourself as you are, which seems kind of counter to what you're trying to doing here, because that would say, okay, I'm comfortable with who I am, you know, overweight. But why is that not true?
We need to accept ourselves as we are before we can actually be honest with ourselves and make the changes necessary to step into what we want to become.
Okay, well, the book includes so many different exercises, correct?
Yes,
Some of them being hypnotherapy, but for those of us who aren't into that, there are other tools.
Many step-by-step procedures to change the old beliefs, go beyond the voices of doubt and fear that say it's impossible, I'll always be overweight, and really tap into the deep longing in our hearts that know that it's possible.
Okay, well, Rena, and more information about her and her method can be found at easywillpower.com. I love the name of the website. And we thank you both for being here. Continued success, and for you as well.
Thank you.
Thanks.